Welcome to Unbound, the podcast with Beth Curry, author, storyteller, and survivor. This is where books meet real life, where Beth reads chapters from her work and breaks free from the traditional audiobook format, diving deeper into the personal experiences, lessons, and liberation behind every page. Nothing is off limits. Let's get unbound.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unbound Season 2, The Weight of Truth. I'm Beth, and today we're talking about something that nobody prepared me for. The complete identity crisis that comes with dramatic physical transformation. This is Chapter 11 in the book, The Mirror Moment. Nobody prepared me for the mind fuck of not recognizing myself in the mirror. For most of my life, I had avoided mirrors like they were cursed objects. I'd brush my teeth looking at my toothbrush, not my reflection. I'd fix my hair by feel, not by sight. I'd walk quickly past store windows and reflective surfaces because catching a glimpse of my body felt like getting punched in the gut. Hard. I thought the mirror was my enemy. I thought it was the source of my shame and self-hatred. I thought that once I lost weight, mirrors would finally become my friend. I was wrong. Again. The day I came home from the follow-up appointment for my first plastic surgery, about a week after the procedure, was the first time I really looked at myself in a full-length mirror in years. My surgeon had removed the excess skin from my stomach and lifted my breasts so they didn't hang down to my belly button anymore. I stood there, staring at the stranger in the mirror. For the first time since I could remember, I had a flat stomach, an actual waist, breasts that were where breasts were supposed to be. I looked normal. I looked like a person who might shop in regular stores and fit in airplane seats and not calculate whether chairs would hold me before sitting down. I should have been ecstatic. I should have been crying tears of joy. I should have been celebrating this incredible transformation. Instead, I felt completely lost. Who was this person in the mirror? Where was the woman I had known for almost 40 years? How was I supposed to exist in the world as someone I didn't recognize? The mindfuck got even worse when I realized that while my upper body looked transformed, my lower body was still covered in excess skin from my arms to my legs. So I was simultaneously looking at someone who looked nothing like me and someone who still carried visible evidence of where I'd been. I felt like I was living in someone else's body, like I had borrowed someone else's life for the day, like I was playing dress up in a costume that happened to be attached to me permanently. One of the things that nobody talks about when it comes to significant weight loss, losing weight doesn't just change how you look. It changes who you are, and becoming someone new is terrifying even when it's exactly what you wanted. The déjà vu during this period was pretty chaotic. The fact, I looked completely different in the mirror. My thought, I don't know who this person is, I don't know how to be her. How that made me feel, anxious, disconnected, like I was floating outside my own life. My actions, I avoided mirrors again, but for different reasons. I felt awkward in my new body. I didn't know how to dress it, or move in it, or present it to the world. I tried. I openly shared on social media and with friends, but I was a total mess. The result, instead of celebrating my transformation, I felt alienated from my own life. This identity crisis lasted for months. I had spent so many years being the fat friend, the funny fat girl, the woman who was grateful for any attention because at least someone was being nice to the fat lady. That identity was toxic and limiting, but it was also familiar. It was all I knew how to be. Now I was what? Who was I if I wasn't the fat girl? What was my personality if it wasn't built around making people comfortable with my size? How was I supposed to interact with the world as someone who no longer had to apologize for taking up space? It sounds crazy, but part of me missed being big. Not because I enjoyed being as big as I was, that was miserable, but because being fat was an identity I understood. I knew how to be fat. I knew the rules, the social dynamics, the survival strategies. I knew how to navigate the world in that body. This new body came with no instruction manual. People treated me differently, and I didn't know how to handle it. Strangers were friendlier, salespeople were more helpful, men paid attention to me in ways they never had before. I got better service at restaurants, better treatment from medical professionals, more respect in professional settings. This should have been great news. This should have been validation that I had made the right choice. Instead, it was infuriating proof of how fucked up the world is. The same personality, the same intelligence, the same kindness, the same humor, but now I was worthy of basic human decency because I took up less space? The mirror became a daily reminder of this bizarre parallel universe I was now living in. Every day I had to look at this stranger and figure out how to be her. But slowly something shifted. Instead of trying to recognize myself in the mirror, I started trying to recognize the mirror in myself. Instead of looking for the old me in this new body, I started looking for the new me in this new life. I started paying attention to what hadn't changed. My values, my sense of humor, my intelligence, my capacity for love, my determination, my ability to help other people. I started focusing on the parts of my identity that had nothing to do with my size. And I started building a new relationship with this person in the mirror, not based on what she looked like, but based on what she had accomplished. This was the person who had chosen life over death. This was the person who had done this hard work of getting uncomfortable. This was the person who had run a marathon. This was the person who had faced her food addiction and learned to manage it. The mirror stopped being about appearance and started being about achievement. I also had to grieve the old me. As toxic as that identity was, it was still a loss. I had to mourn the woman who had carried 400 pounds, not because I missed being that size, but because she was part of my story. She was the one who'd survived adolescent trauma, who had endured years of discrimination, who had found ways to be funny and kind and valuable, even when the world told her she wasn't worth basic respect. She deserved to be honored, not erased. The mirror moment taught me that transformation isn't just about changing your body. It's about integrating all the versions of yourself into one coherent identity. It's about taking the best parts of who you were and combining them with the best parts of who you're becoming. It taught me that you can love your progress and grieve your past at the same time. You can be grateful for your transformation and still feel weird about it. You can celebrate how far you've come and still feel sad about where you started. Most importantly, it taught me that the person in the mirror isn't your enemy or your friend. She's just information. She's evidence of choices you've made, work you've done, life you've lived. She's not your identity. She's just the container your identity lives in. And that container, whatever size it is, whatever shape it's in, whatever scars it carries, is worthy of respect. Not because of how it looks, but because of what it's survived and what it's accomplished. The mirror moment isn't about learning to love how you look. It's about learning to recognize who you are, regardless of what package that person comes in. And whoever that person is, she's been there all along, waiting for you to see her. Real talk questions. Who are you if you're not defined by your weight? This is scary territory for people who have built their entire identity around being the fat friend, the funny fat person, the grateful fat person. If your size changed dramatically, what parts of your personality would remain? Those are the real you. What parts of your current identity are you afraid to lose? Sometimes we stay stuck because we're afraid that changing our bodies means losing parts of ourselves we actually like. Be honest, what are you afraid would disappear if you lost weight? How do you want people to see you versus how do you think they see you now? The gap between these two things often keeps us trapped. We think we need to lose weight to be worthy of respect, but we also resent the idea that our worth is tied to our size. Both things can be true. Identity integration exercise. Make 2 lists. List 1, parts of my identity that have nothing to do with my weight. Examples: sense of humor, intelligence, kindness, work ethic, creativity, loyalty, parenting skills, professional abilities, hobbies, values, relationships. List 2, parts of my identity that I think are tied to my weight. Examples: being the funny one, being grateful for attention, being the helper, being non-threatening, being invisible in certain situations. Now look at list 2 and ask, which of these do I actually want to keep and which am I holding on to because I'm afraid of who I'd be without them? Mirror relationship reset. For 1 week, change how you interact with mirrors. Day 1 to 2, look in the mirror and say one thing you're grateful your body can do. Not how it looks, what it does. Day 3 to 4, look in the mirror and acknowledge one hard thing you've survived. This body survived trauma, difficulty, challenge. You decide. Day 5 to 6, look in the mirror and recognize one way you've grown mentally or emotionally, regardless of physical changes. Day 7, look in the mirror and say, I am more than what I see. I am what I've overcome, what I've accomplished, and who I choose to be. The goal is to start seeing your reflection as evidence of your journey, not judgment of your worth. I will warn you, this is weird to do and can be very uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it. Your friend would look you in the eyes and compliment the hell out of you. Be that friend to yourself. You'll also be amazed at how much better you treat yourself when you're looking in your own eyes and speaking kindly instead of talking shit. Future self visualization. Close your eyes and imagine yourself at your goal weight or health level. How do you carry yourself? What do you wear? How do you interact with people? What activities do you do? How do you feel in your body? Now ask, which of these things can I start doing right now, regardless of my current size? The person you're becoming isn't just about the body you'll have. She's about the confidence, the energy, the presence, the choices you make. Start being her now. Truth bomb. The mirror moment isn't about learning to love your reflection. It's about learning to recognize yourself as more than your reflection. You are not your body. You live in your body. And whoever you are, whatever you've survived, however you've grown, that person deserves to be seen and honored. The stranger in the mirror isn't a stranger. She is all the versions of yourself that have ever existed, integrated into who you are today. Stop looking for the old you or the future you. Start seeing the current you, all of her, not just the parts you can see. She's been waiting to be recognized, not just seen, recognized for everything she is, everything she survived, everything she's capable of becoming. So that moment standing in front of the mirror after my first plastic surgery, staring at this basically new body, should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. And you know what? It kind of was, like, not the happiest moment of my life, but like it was bittersweet, I guess, but at the same time, I had this full-blown identity crisis, right? All my life, I was the fat girl. That was my identity entirely. And that was how I understood myself and how I navigated the world. And, I was the smart fat girl, and I was funny, and I was grateful. I was thankful for any scrap of attention or kindness because at least someone was being nice to me, right? And that's pretty sad. But that identity was toxic, and it was limiting, and it was built on shame and fear and a lifetime of being told I wasn't good enough or assuming I wasn't good enough because that's how people made me feel without saying it. But it was also familiar, right? It was all I knew how to be my whole life. Like that's who I was. And suddenly I'm looking at the stranger. I didn't even recognize myself either. Like really, really trippy mind fuck for sure. And the deja vu pattern during that time was chaotic because, I didn't even know what thoughts to think because I'd never lived in that position before. My thought, it wasn't, I'm so happy or I'm so proud. It was, I don't know who this person is and I don't know how to be her. That's really sad. It made me anxious and disconnected, and I felt like I wasn't me, and it led me to these places of avoiding mirrors again and not really being proud of myself for what I had accomplished up to that point. And I did. I missed being big, like not the physical misery of it, but the part that I knew, like the life that I knew, like that's what I knew, and it was gone, and I was like, whoa. And the way that people treated me differently, that was the most infuriating part, that everyone was friendlier and I was getting more compliments and attention from complete strangers. But I was still the same person. So, like, why? Why? I mean, I know why. We all know why. But it's just gross. It's gross. The reality check about how the world works was almost harder to swallow than any of the physical challenges of weight loss. But, like I said, slowly I started to shift my perspective and started to recognize, the new parts, the new me. Keeping in mind that what was on the inside was still there and it absolutely mattered. The mirror was now more about, my achievements instead of my appearance. It stopped being about what I looked like and started being what I had accomplished. And grieving the old me. That was pretty weird too. But I was saying goodbye to like a past version of me. And yeah, like you grieve that. It's sad. I still think it's kind of sad. But yeah, like whoever you were, whoever you are, you deserve to be honored and not erased. The exercises that I said included at the end of the chapter, like I always say, do them. Transformation isn't about becoming someone completely different. You want to pull together all the different versions of yourself. You don't want to completely erase the old ones. They matter. They matter in your story. They matter. They built you. I always joke, all the bad things that ever happened to me, they built character. Can't get rid of those. And that mirror work stuff, I know it sounds weird. I know talking to yourself in the mirror feels awkward and uncomfortable, but do it anyway, because I think that the more you practice speaking kindly to yourself while looking at yourself like in your eyes, the more you start to believe those kind words that you're saying, right? Because like I said, your friend won't look you in the eyes and tell you that you're a pile of shit and you're worthless and you suck or whatever. Your friend is going to tell you how amazing you are. And, if you had two people standing in front of you, like I've said this a million times before, if you have two people standing in front of you and one of them is talking you down and being mean and cruel, and the other one is building you up and being kind and loving, which one are you more likely to do kind things for? You're not going to be nice to the person who's talking shit. You're going to be nice to the person who's showing you love. So show yourself love so that you can be kind to yourself and continue to be kind to yourself and treat yourself kindly. Because if you don't show yourself that love, you're going to do awful things. You're not going to treat yourself with respect. Stop looking for the old you or the future you. Just start seeing the current you, all of you, not just the parts that you can see in the reflection, all of you. Before I go, if you want to discuss this episode with others, there's a Facebook group. Link is in the show notes. All my content is free and always will be if you want to support the production costs. I've got a Ko-fi account. You can contribute any amount once or monthly. I also accept e-transfer or PayPal to avoid fees for both of us. You can reach out for details or just check the show notes. It's all there. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Unbound with Beth Curry. Join the conversation in the Facebook group or visit authorbethcurry.com. Want to support the show? Head to ko-fi.com/unbound podcast. Until next time, stay unbound.